So, yeah, here it is. For as long as I've been talking about how I've contemplated suicide, it's clearly taken me far more than just one video to go over it. And if you guys are legitimately sick of it by this point, don't worry. This is the last one, I assure you. But this is when I talk about my final thoughts of it all. Because between a week ago till now, it's been pretty emotional. And even if I wind up never, bawling my eye, because this was actually different. Because compared to last year, I didn't really cry as much as I did last year. This year I didn't cry as much as last year, is what I'm trying to say, excuse me. So, maybe I guess I've gotten used to saying it more, and therefore I think it's probably why I'm more comfortable doing it. Comfortable talking about this, because it is a very emotional topic. It's an important topic. And it really does need to be, talked about every year. Because, partly I'll never forget that it ever happened, for sure. I mean, there was legitimately one point where I could have legit committed suicide. And what happened to Andrew Einstein and all my brothers coming together, I'll never forget that. That changed me. Because in the several months that I've been there, I grew to love those guys. I never even realized it then, but I did. Now, granted, some of that love and respect I had to legitimately earn, doing well in, cross country and, doing well in school and stuff like that. I mean, respect is one of those things that you gotta earn. Everyone knows that. I just never thought, it never even occurred to me that that's how I was doing, though. Again, I'm not very smart when it comes to that. At the time I wasn't anyway. I can admit that now. It's just, when I stopped contemplating suicide, I was then reminded of, sophomore year at Horseheads when I had to see the movie I Am Sam. The fact that Sean Penn plays a character who's on the spectrum and much less functioning than, I ever was, it frightened me. Is that really what the rest of my life is going to be? Am I going to one day, by the grace of God, find someone to love and have a kid, only for that kid to be taken away from me? Now, yes, I know, I'm about to turn 33 years old. I'm actually going to be turning 33 in a week from now. So that's really cool. But will my child be taken away from me solely because at the time it was believed I was on the spectrum? Or worse yet, how about we take it to the most extreme it could be? Let's say that, I don't know, run for president of the United States. the media, or the political media, no matter what side you're on, they will destroy, and they will be set out to destroy anyone they don't feel is right for office. I mean, look what they did to Donald Trump. Even though Trump really isn't very smart, you know. I mean, let's be honest, Donald Trump did nothing but run his mouth. I'm not going to pretend that he was remotely good or bad. I'm just going to say, you know, just don't run your mouth and maybe things wouldn't have been so bad. Or, you know, then there's Barack Obama. You know, he was our first black president. You know, that was the first real presidential election that not only did my generation vote for, but we had an opportunity to change history. And we did. But the political media, you know, they were harping on, I mean, they were trying to be creative as to why they were saying Barack Obama was a bad idea. And maybe some of what they said was valid. But at the end of the day, it was because he was black. Now, yes, I know. You know, for me, it would be more mental related issues, whereas Barack Obama, it was racial issues. But when it comes to how scathing the political media can be, it's all cut from the same cloth. If they don't like you, they'll do what they can to destroy you. And quite frankly, I wasn't sure if I myself would have been able to handle that. And if I couldn't handle any of that, then at that point, there really wasn't any reason to live anymore. I mentioned last Tuesday that in trying to search for a better career, you know, there are services that can facilitate that. You know, you just gotta, you know, apply for them, which, you know, I did, only for me to be properly diagnosed as having both depression and pragmatic communication disorder. The man who properly diagnosed me, his name was Jeff Donner. And if you know my policy, you know what I mean when I say was. Because he just recently passed several months ago. I owe that man so much. He gave me my life back. He removed quite possibly the greatest weight that had ever existed on my shoulders. And I felt like I could finally breathe again. And he's gone. When I first heard this, I couldn't believe it. I mean, it's not like he was a particularly young person. I'd say he was probably in his, late 60s, early 70s. Which I know by today's standards, you know, that's actually considered more on the young side, you know, thanks to the miracle of modern medicine and everything. But, you know, he was an old guy to me. Not that I would ever actually call him, you know, old, but, you know, if he was an adult clearly before I ever was, he's old, okay? That's how I look at it. So, let's put it to you that way. Sorry, I'm just trying to... Basically, this video is also to talk over if there's anything I missed, because there was a lot to talk about. If you can believe it, there's still stuff I missed. Although, speaking of stuff I have already talked about that I could have elaborated on more, there is the case of my grandmother on my mother's side. The one who, all those years ago, based on the fact that I didn't really smile very much, just walked right up to my mom and said, "There's something wrong with your kid." I said this before and I'll say it again. I have plenty of friends who are moms, and I can tell you right away, none of them would ever take that sitting down. Not even a little. Whether it was from their mom or anyone else. And I guess it's actually one of the main, I mean, aside from putting in special ed, that's actually one of the reasons why, you know, I've always had this sort of contempt for my mom. Because at the end of the day, you have to stick up for your kid. No matter who's saying what about them. And I don't really feel like, you know, that happened with me. And as much as I would love to be able to tell my grandmother off myself, there's actually two problems with that. One, she lives all the way out in Las Vegas, and quite frankly, I have no reason to go there. That's any good. Which is a real shame because it's Las Vegas. You want to go. There's plenty of reasons why it's great to go there. But also, not only does my grandmother suffer, I'm pretty sure my grandmother suffers from dementia. She also just recently broke her hip and is now in the ICU. So, outside of the fact that the very woman who said there was something wrong with me has something wrong with her, there's just no point. I mean, it'd be great to maybe get it off my chest, but it really wouldn't do anything. Because, I mean, considering what I've been told about her, she'd likely forget what happened anyway. But doing it regardless wouldn't be right. I don't know. Maybe considering everything that's happened to me, you know, I want some justice, I guess. But if I wind up never getting it, you know, maybe it's fine. Maybe I'll just be able, maybe someday I'll be able to live with the fact that, you know, everyone who ever doubted me wound up being wrong. And I get to live with proving that they were wrong, I suppose. Because, you know, in a lot of ways I've proven wrong, you know. I did. Whether it was those faculty at Horsides or the people in Rochester misdiagnosed me, I proved them wrong. You know, I'm here. 32 years old, about to turn 33, and you know what? For all the bad stuff that happened in my life, there's been a lot of good that's happened too. You know, I graduated college despite struggling as much as I did with studying. for a while, I became a nationally certified phlebotomist. I mean, I never really wanted to pursue that career, but, you know, I did it. No one ever thought that would happen to me. I rode my bike 100 miles 4 years in a row for charity. Specifically, the first 2 years were JDRF, and the latter two were for the food bank, specifically the food bank of the Southern Tier, which, you know, if you're looking to donate to charity for the holidays, that wouldn't be a bad thing to do. And in those same 4 years, not even 3 months later, I ran the Wine Glass Marathon. All 4 years, back to back to back to back. I can say I'm one of the only people who's ever even done that once, let alone 4 times. I did that. You know, I may not have been good at sports, and probably no one ever thought I'd be able to do that, but I did it. And you know, in the great words of a former NFL coach, Bill Parcells, he actually said this after the Giants won the Super Bowl: for the rest of your life, nobody can ever tell you that you couldn't do it, because you did. I did that. I did. And no, I wasn't able to go to the dance, the big show, the ball, if you will. Oh, sorry. Those are names I personally call the Boston Marathon. Because, you know, that's honestly, let's be honest, if you do a marathon every year, you're either doing it because you're a masochist or you want to go to the show. That's why. And naturally, I wanted to go to the show, and I just couldn't quite do it. That bothers me, but maybe my mom's rationale's rubbed off on me over the years. You know, because my mom's always said only 1% of the world population runs a marathon. So I guess I can say I'm part of that 1%. Just how much of that 1% actually goes to Boston. And yeah, I know, I'm very well aware that even if I did qualify for the Boston Marathon, there's still a lottery that I have to apply for. Just because, I mean, it's the Boston Marathon. Tens of thousands of people apply for it. You know, either qualify or buy their way in. And, you know, that's the lottery. That's why they made the lottery. I get that. I know I have to be in the lottery. And of course, there's a chance I wouldn't qualify, to be sure. Because of the lottery, of course. If that would have been the case, I'd have been fine with that, though. Because in the end, I got the time needed to, you know, qualify. And I put all the work in that was necessary to do. So if I did all that and still not be able to run the Boston Marathon because of the lottery, I'd be fine with that. Of course, you can't win if you're not in. See, this is the problem. This is one of the main problems I have. And I think it does stem from the depression thing. For every time I try and, you know, build myself up, I just find it so easy for me to bring myself back down to earth. When I really shouldn't be doing that. Only I'd be stupid enough to do that to myself. Although, if I'm being honest, even with everything I accomplished, I never really did feel as if I was satisfied. Admittedly, also, part of the reasons why that is because, well, straight up, I never really had a girlfriend. You know, someone would be by my side and care about me no matter what. No matter what I looked like or what I did. You know, because she'd be there. And she'd tell me that she loved me no matter what. And I her. And that was another reason why, you know, high school was really horrible. I mean, yeah, Trinity Pond was just all boys. But at least that didn't have, at least there I never had to worry about PDAs. Man, I hated PDAs when I was in Horseheads. So when I say PDAs, I mean public displays of affection. Like, anytime I ever saw, you know, a guy and a girl kiss or, you know, holding hands, it really bothered me. Because, you know, would it kill anyone really just hold my hand or something? Eventually I wound up hating it so much, I eventually got thinking, holding hands is probably stupid anyway. Well, over the years I've warmed up to PDAs a little bit. You know, here's the thing, like something like a hug, hugs are fine. I'm not worried about hugs. And when it comes to holding hands, if they're holding hands like this, see my hand like this, that's fine. It was when a guy and a girl held their hands like this, or actually be more like that, I guess. That bothered me. That was the kind of hand holding I'm thinking, it's probably not even that fun anyway. In terms of kissing, it's a little give and take. I mean, if it's like a quick peck on the cheek, that's fine. I'm not going to be upset by that because, you know, it's short, sweet, no pun intended, to the point. There you go. If like, something on like the lips that lasts like longer than a split second, like, that's when it gets that's kind of crossing the line for me. Then again, what would I know? I've barely ever kissed a girl myself. I mean, I have. You know, it's been a really long time since it's happened. Like March of 2013. Yeah, it's so my luck with the ladies really hasn't been so great. And honestly, whenever I truly think about the worst, you know, luck I've ever had with the ladies, I really am harking back to being in 8th grade. When that one girl found out I was in special ed and she chose another guy over me. And the only reason why it happened was because, and I told the story already, there was a kid who was also in special ed with me. And I called him a retard and he snitched on me. Again, I shouldn't have called him that. Because, you know, obviously retard is a bad word that's very triggering. I know that, I respect that. The reason I called him that was because, frankly, I figured that there are worse things to call someone. I mean, do I even need to tell you that, you know, there are 7 words you're not allowed to say on television and radio? And with the exception of the last one, they're all worse than retard. Yeah, contrary to popular belief, retard is not a swear word. It's a bad word you shouldn't say. It's not a swear word, though. You would think it is, but it isn't. Man, even to this day, it still bothers me that I got snitched on. Good Lord. Yeah, I know it's stupid. I'm taken aback by that, but still. It cost me getting a girlfriend, man. Of course I had every right to be mad. It cost me getting a girlfriend. Seriously. And don't misunderstand me. The fact I'm still alive and I'm not going anywhere is a testament to just how much I really have overcome. Especially when I live longer, to be able to be properly diagnosed as to what I really am. Because, you know, considering what I know now and what being on the spectrum entails versus being properly diagnosed as both having depression and pragmatic communication disorder, I'd rather be sad and run my mouth about it than being on the spectrum. At this point, if I was on the spectrum, I would have something to be very sad about. For that matter, I have something to run my mouth about. I finally get a roughly 30-year weight off of my shoulders. I finally hear the one thing I've always wanted to hear in my life. The one thing I've always wanted validation on. I feel renewed. I feel rejuvenated. I feel like I really could take on the world. I mean, yeah, there's still some problems I do have. I mean, you can't just simply ignore depression. But you know what? That's something. But I get all that. But as the good book says, the Lord giveth and the Lord taketh away. For many years, I'd probably say 20 or more, there was one girl who I really always did have feelings for. When I finally started living on my own, I finally had an opportunity, and we both knew each other for many years, but when I first moved here to Elmira, I had finally seen her for the first time in forever. I finally got to know her and talk to her more. And in that time, you know, I became an uncle. I finally got 2 nephews in the form of, you know, twins, obviously. This woman was the very first person I told. And I want to make one thing clear. I wasn't supposed to tell anyone. I told her, though, because she was worth it. Fast forward to January 21st, 2020, when my grandfather died. I told her about how I was feeling, and she comforted me. Between my pre-existing feelings for her and all that she had done in the time I moved here, I loved this woman. I did. I was just about ready to tell her how I felt, and then the pandemic starts. At that point, I had to make a choice. Because remember, when the pandemic started, there's no vaccine. You want to go out and risk getting sick? Go right ahead. And if you wind up dying, it's your fault. Or, I chose to stay inside. Don't do any bad decisions. Go out and only see immediate family, which ultimately led to me reconnecting with my parents. Not to mention, I get to live to see my nephews grow up. I chose that over finding this woman and telling her about how I feel. And in the end, it wound up biting me in the butt. Because earlier this year, she wound up getting engaged to someone else. Listen, because of I can't believe I'm saying this, but thanks to being in special education, naturally, I know what heartbreak is. But I tell you what, I never felt heartbreak like this. I had never felt heartbreak like this. I mean, that was the closest. Feeling that level of heartbreak was a level of just sadness I hadn't experienced in a long time. Like, it was almost as bad as my days back in high school and middle school and high school when I was put in the special education class. Or back in 2018 when I had to go seek help for weight-related issues in Denver. Like, I would say this heartbreak was probably the third worst thing that ever happened to me. How do you go so long liking a girl? Literal decades loving this woman. And to have your heart broken like that, how do you move on? I finally hear the one thing I waited all my life to hear, and that happens. I tell you what, though, it's a good thing I seek it. It's a good thing I have a good therapist. Because, man, when I tell you emotions don't ask for permission, they really don't ask for permission. I needed my therapist to get me through it a lot more than I ever needed to. It's been hard. And I don't know what happens next. But I like to think I've accepted that being with this woman's never going to happen. And I think what makes me the most guilty is I mentioned how she comforted me when my grandfather passed away. During the pandemic, her grandfather passed away. And I couldn't do anything to help her the way she helped me. I feel so horrible about that. I like to try and rationalize by saying, you know, I chose my nephews and my family. And in a lot of ways, I am glad I did, because now I'm in their lives. You know, I'm going to see I get to see those boys grow up. Not to mention, sometime after this woman got engaged, I was given an honor I never thought in my entire life would ever be bestowed on me. I became a godfather. So I guess you can chalk one up to, you know, reasons why it's a good thing I stuck around, huh? It's been quite a while since I've felt this emotionally drained. If we're being honest, it's been years since I've been this emotionally drained. Some people would probably, at this point, considering I've done this, you know, this is the 5th year I've done this. Considering I've done this 5 years in a row, you would think maybe it's a bit excessive that I've done this, especially since it's now 5 videos it takes for me to talk about all this. And it's during the holiday season when, you know, you want to be spreading love and joy and being festive and everything. Which, yeah, I see the argument there. And as blessed as I am for what I have, for as blessed this whole country is, there are also those in this country that aren't so fortunate. I wouldn't be surprised if there are people who are going through some of the exact same problems that I have. You know, is life truly worth living for? You know, how do you move on? You know, what's there to be happy about? Some people just don't have that. If you take anything away from this, from these last 5 videos that I've done, between last Tuesday, last Wednesday, last Thursday, yesterday, and today, is if you're feeling kind of depressed at all, for the love of God, go talk to someone. Talk to anyone. There has to be someone in your life you can talk to and share your feelings with. Sharing your feelings is arguably some of the best medicine there is. I think one of the reasons, and there's a few reasons why why it doesn't work that way. I mean, for some, you know, what's talking feelings going to do? It's probably not going to change the situation, and that's true. You know, is it guaranteed to make you feel better? It's hard to say. And for that matter, is there anyone out there who would listen? Well, that depends on who you think to look to. That all depends on who you think to look to seek out advice from. I can tell you what though, if you're feeling down, and if you want to share your feelings, I'll listen. Partly because I'm a loser, there's nothing better to do, but, you know, I've been there. I've stared at that abyss. I know what it's like. And keep in mind, no, I didn't actually commit suicide, obviously. But I have to live with the fact that I came that close to doing it. And it was the help of my brothers from Trinity Pawling who got me out. Believe me, I owe Trinity Pawling a lot more than what anyone can be expected of for this reason. Because it gave me that second chance. And no, my life isn't perfect. And maybe it is. I mean, you really could say something as stupid as, well, all you really are doing is making videos every day. You're right. I am making videos every day. For nearly 5 years, that's what I've been doing. With not much to show for it other than, you know, maybe a few dozen subscribers on YouTube. But I can tell you, and no paycheck from anything. I get that. But I can tell you this. I made it this far by staying sharp, tough, and I did it all square. No, it may not be much, but it's honest. I'll take that over, you know, doing it the wrong way anytime. And someday I'll probably get rewarded for this. Who knows? It's possible that maybe, you know, things will be different. Maybe someday you'll see someone very special next to me by my side. Who's to say? But I'm not going to get anywhere if I wind up killing myself, now am I? So I'm not going anywhere. Man, I know it's been a year, but I always forget how renewed I feel after doing these videos. I think I'm ready for Christmas now. And I'm certainly ready to take on the new year. So, two of my brothers may be gone. And there's so much I may never get back. But if there's one thing my mother herself has never shied away from saying to me, it's that I have a lot to offer. I may not know what it is, but you know what? I won't know if I end it here. And that's why I keep going. That's why I'm still here. And that's why I am very humbled that I was able to share this with all of you. I'm hopeful that you take my story, share it with others, use it to help someone. And if for whatever reason you're not having a great holiday season, maybe this could help you with that too. Or you can use it to help someone. I don't know. But always remember, there are people who you can talk to that'll help you if you need it. I know I'll listen. So, always remember that someone will be out there to help you if you need it. And it wouldn't be a bad idea to make some good choices too. Have a nice day.